Good evening and thank you for joining us. The MTR recorded a net profit of $15.7 billion last year, doubling its gains from last year. This as earlier reports said the MTR is considering issuing bonds and sell assets to facilitate its rail projects in the future. The MTR says it can handle the situation. Timothy Lee tells us more.
The MTR has seen a surge in both profit and passenger numbers over the past 2 years. Passenger numbers for the company's public transport services, comprising rail and bus, indicated a total of 1.9 billion throughout last year, which is an increase of 3% year-on-year. Local train passenger figures alone made up 1.6 billion. The rise in number was primarily from the ever-growing trend of locals choosing to spend money in the mainland. The figure for passengers traveling to the mainland via the East Rail Line's Lowu and Lok Ma Chau stations reached close to 100 million, which is an increase of 38%. Meanwhile, the Hong Kong portion of the high-speed rail and Airport Express recorded more than 26 million and 13 million passengers respectively. Despite the gains, the MTR noted the challenges that their shopping malls are currently facing as a result of more local residents deciding to spend their money in the mainland. The company stressed it will gradually adapt to the situation. Throughout the previous year, the MTR acquired a revenue of $60 billion, an increase of 5.3% year-on-year, and a net profit of over $15 billion. Property development made up the majority of gains at $10 billion, mostly coming from projects located in Lohas Park, Ho Man Tin, and Wah Chuk Hang. As of the end of last year, the MTR recorded over $27 billion in bank deposits and a loan amount of $20 billion. In a bid to boost revenue, the transport giant said it will achieve the goal by targeting gains through the rail and property model.
The rail plus property model has been in use for a long time, as not only as a source of funding, but it also generates the patronage or additional patronage to support the railway. It also, of course, enhanced the housing supply. The model has proved to be useful in many different occasions. That will remain our major financing model.
Timothy Lee, TVB News.
A research report released by the Consumer Council found a lack of transparency in the charges of private healthcare services. The Consumer Watchdog made several suggestions to the sector, including the use of package charges that could provide greater price certainty to consumers. Samantha Lee has a story.
Over the past 4 years, the Consumer Council received 191 complaints about private healthcare services provided by private hospitals and day procedure centers. The total disputed amount exceeded $7.2 million, with nearly half involving price or charge disputes. One of the complainants received a budget estimate of around $120,000 for reconstructing a cruciate ligament, but the final bill turned out to be nearly $200,000. The hospital advised the patient to seek clarification from the doctor, who determined the charges, while the doctor said the medical group was responsible for setting the fee. The Consumer Watchdog said many private medical centers failed to disclose their price list online. Even if they showed their prices, the fee information was sorted by service items, which may be difficult for consumers to understand. For instance, inpatient hemorrhoidectomy surgery can range from $33,000 to $85,000 in the same hospital, representing a 152% price difference. The council also noted just a few health centers offer medical packages that involve fixed fee covering certain services. But the prices of excluded items were frequently undisclosed, such as medication, consultation fees, and doctor's fees. The government is exploring legislation for price transparency. The Consumer Watchdog suggested the authorities develop guidelines for private hospitals and medical centers on presenting charges in a user-friendly format. Medical services providers should also update their charges in a timely manner and list them clearly. In the long run, they were also encouraged to introduce more packages tailored to various levels of medical conditions.
despite, there are different channels for consumers to file the complaint, according to our survey, they have no idea where to. So we believe it's so important to increase, the visibility and also the awareness on how they can file a complaint, if they want to.
The Consumer Council also recommends placing promotional materials at the cashiers and waiting areas of private hospitals so as to improve price transparency for the consumers. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
3 leaders of now-dissolved group Hong Kong Alliance in support of patriotic democratic movements of China had earlier been found guilty of not complying with a National Security Police request for information about the alliance's members and activities. The Court of Final Appeal overturned the convictions today. Former Vice Chair Chow Hang-tung, who remains remanded pending trial on a separate national security charge, was sent to the Court of Final Appeal by a prison van this morning. The other 2 appellants, ex-standing committee members Tang Ngok Kwan and Choi Hong Kwong, have already completed their jail terms. The 5 judges of the Court of Final Appeal, led by Chief Justice Andrew Cheung, unanimously ruled the prosecutors failed to prove the alliance as a foreign agent. But the lower court mistakenly ruled that such suspicions could be justified as a police chief's reasonable belief. U.S. President Donald Trump is granting a 1-month exemption on his stiff new tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada for U.S. automakers. The pause comes after Trump spoke with leaders of the big 3 automakers of Ford, General Motors and Stellantis. Nasvi Karim has more.
The message to U.S. car makers is bring your factories home as soon as you can. This after President Donald Trump delayed imposing tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada for U.S. automakers with factories there. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked if 1 month is enough.
He told them that they should get on it, start investing, start moving, shift production here to the United States of America, where they will pay no tariff. That's the ultimate goal.
On April 2nd, Trump is set to impose broad reciprocal tariffs to match the taxes and subsidies that other countries charge on imports. Leavitt said the U.S. president is open to hearing requests from other industries seeking exemptions as well, though Trump previously said there would be no exemptions. The tariffs on Canada, Mexico and China imposed on Tuesday are meant to stop illegal immigration, block fentanyl smuggling, close the trade gap and balance the federal budget. Trump also wants other nations to show him more respect. Danielle Smith, Premier of Canadian province Alberta, said the tariffs are a breach of the North American Free Trade Agreement signed by Trump during his first term. She directed her cabinet to ensure the province buys goods and services from local companies and countries with valid free trade agreements with Canada.
So until our U.S. friends come back to reality, we will focus on efforts and financial means to export one of the largest oil and gas deposits in the world elsewhere.
Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Welcome back. Police Commissioner Raymond Siu said the force and the banking sector recovered over $14 billion between 2017 and 2024. Siu made the comment at a bank staff recognition ceremony organized to commend the banking industry for combating fraud. Mimo Senghai reports.
Combating scam crime often requires cross-sector collaboration. Last year, 368 frontline bank employees contributed to the prevention of 425 scam cases. At a recognition ceremony on Thursday, 18 banks and 9 bank employees received awards for their efforts in detecting and preventing clients from proceeding with unusual money transactions. Among the prize-winning banks, the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China won the Anti-Money Laundering Excellence Award and Effective RegTech Application Award. A representative said the bank had managed to save nearly 100 clients from being scammed last year. He said prevention was key in detecting scammers.
We cannot keep on increasing the banking staffs. We need to use AI to tackle these alerts. It's better not to reactively handle these police alerts or crime alerts. We should be more proactive. We need to identify the red flags, which is come from or analyzed from the past cases, so that we proactively put these red flags into our system to catch or to identify the culprits before police or the cases happen.
Police Commissioner Raymond Siu said deception is a global crime, with more than $2 trillion being lost in the past 2 years. While Hong Kong recorded 44,480 scam cases in 2024, an 11.7% increase compared to 2023. Siu said the growth rate was lower than the 40% surge seen in previous years. With the establishment of the Anti-Deception Coordination Center and a partnership between police and the banking sector, Siu said authorities had arrested 818 scammers and avoided 1,340 relevant cases between 2017 and 2024, leading to a financial recovery of over $14 billion.
The force said they will continue to work closely with the banking sector to implement anti-deception measures and protect public assets. Memos 9, TVB News.
4 people were today charged on counts of conspiracy to offer advantage to an agent and conspiracy to defraud in connection with football match fixing and illegal gambling. The 4 will be mentioned at the Eastern Magistrates Courts on Friday. The ICAC arrested 4 people in a crackdown on corruption, including the alleged mastermind and the owner of a football club in Hong Kong's 2nd Division. Between April 2021 and August 2022, the defendants were alleged to have conspired to defraud the Hong Kong Football Association by contriving or attempting to contrive the results of matches involving the club Full Moon. The ICAC also found the 4 have agreed to take over Full Moon before the start of the football season, hoping to facilitate the syndicate's illegal bookmaking business. One of the suspects was said to have received $60,000. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will join European Union leaders for emergency talks on Thursday to agree ways to quickly ramp up their military budgets and set new defense spending priorities. This after U.S. President Donald Trump's administration signaled that Europe must take care of its own security as they suspended assistance to Ukraine. And Russian officials and lawmakers poured scorn on French President Emmanuel Macron for saying that Russia threatened Europe. They cautioned that such talk could lead the West towards the abyss of a new world war. Tracy Furness has more.
Speaking in a televised address ahead of the European summit, French President Emmanuel Macron said Europe should shift from taking as fact that the US would come to its defense and must be ready if this is not the case. He said we must continue to help the Ukrainians resist until they can negotiate a solid peace with Russia for themselves and for all of us. That's why the road to peace can't involve abandoning Ukraine. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced earlier this week an €800 billion plan to boost defence spending to help Europe take care of its own security and to help Ukraine. But a lot remains to be done to put words into action as European leaders meet in Belgium Thursday.
Leaders will also have an exchange of views with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to assess the country's needs as US assistance is currently frozen. But the outcome of the meeting remained uncertain and could highlight one of the EU's weakest points, speaking with one voice. Hungary, whose Prime Minister Viktor Orban opposes support for Ukraine, has already threatened to veto the summit's joint statement.
Meanwhile, ahead of the EU summit, a group of Ukrainian supporters and rights activists gathered outside the European Council building, asking EU leaders to seize frozen Russian assets to fund Ukraine's fight for survival. The event was launched by American non-profit organization Avaz, which means voice in several languages. The group unfolded a banner that read, "Defend Ukraine, defend Europe, seize Russia's billions." Tracy Furness, TVB News.
In Beijing, the heads of state council units in charge of economic and financial matters held a press conference earlier today as part of the 2 sessions. Chief of China's state planner expressed confidence of meeting the economic growth targets set in the government work report for the year. Danny Zhou with details.
China is keeping its growth target at around 5% for 2025, in line with the past 2 years. During a press conference this afternoon, Chairman of the National Development and Reform Commission, Zheng Shanjie, said he is confident in achieving the target despite external headwinds and sluggish domestic demand, as China's economy has solid foundation and support. He pointed out China's economy is underpinned by institutional strengths, market potential, and business vitality. And most importantly, the Chinese people have the courage to face up to the risks and address challenges, he noted. Details of measures related to boosting consumption and the National Venture Capital Guidance Fund will be released soon. Zheng also said a batch of major projects in railway, nuclear power and hydropower will be launched to attract private investment. Concerning US President Donald Trump's imposition of additional tariffs as high as 20% on Chinese goods, Commerce Minister Wang Wentao reiterated that Beijing will not be coerced or deterred, and it will resolutely safeguard its own rights and interests. He criticized Washington's hegemonic and unilateral move as typical trade bullying. Wang said it severely violated the World Trade Organization rules and disrupted not only the normal Sino-US economic ties, but also global industrial and supply chains. Meanwhile, as high technology becomes a new battlefield in the two countries' rivalry, China's central bank voiced its opposition to politicizing investment behaviors. Central Bank Governor Pan Gongsheng has pledged to explore new structural policy tools to bolster technology, consumption and capital markets, and said China welcomes international investment in tech firms. Pan added the reserve requirement ratios and interest rates will be cut at an appropriate time this year. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang highlighted Hong Kong's distinctive status on the sidelines of the two sessions meetings. Ding urged the city to maintain confidence and play to its strengths and said he hopes it will continue to glow like a diamond. Danny Zhou again.
This morning, Vice Premier Ding, who leads the Central Leading Group on Hong Kong and Macau, met with members of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference from the two SARs in Beijing. The newly unveiled government work report for the year was discussed during the 90-minute meeting. The event was moderated by former Macau Chief Executive Edmund Ho. Former Chief Executive of Hong Kong Deng Chunying and Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office Xia Baolong were also in attendance. One of the delegates, Yu Qixing, called for a reform roadmap to enhance Hong Kong's status as international financial hub. Yu also proposed developing the city's high-quality producer services to help escalate China's competitiveness in new productive forces. Vice Premier Ding said Hong Kong has the unique advantages of enjoying strong support of the motherland and being closely connected to the world. He concurred with suggestions to promote professional services arising from manufacturing industries. Martial arts superstar Donnie Yen raised proposals on the international communication of Chinese films. Some delegates met the press after the meeting. They said national security was also discussed. Ding praised the historic completion of Article 23 legislation of the Basic Law of Hong Kong last year and emphasized the city should remain vigilant to internal and external forces that mess around. Calling to strike a balance between development and national security, Ding urged the SAR to continue its efforts to boost economic growth and improve people's livelihood. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.